In this video, I'm going to teach you the music theory concepts behind the music of the technical death metal band, the Zenith Passage. Specifically, the main riff in their song Divinertia II. Firstly, I'll play you the riff all the way through and then we'll talk about it. When I first heard this riff, I knew there was something special going on. Notice how it doesn't sound like it's in a basic major or minor key. This riff is written with the symmetrical dominant scale featuring a small amount of chromaticism. Symmetrical dominant scales are a type of diminished scale. They're built on repeating half steps and whole steps, resulting in 8 notes per octave rather than the typical 7. Divinertia II uses this scale with an A sharp root, resulting in the following notes: A sharp, B, C sharp, D, E, F, G, G sharp. The first 4 bars are all about establishing the root A sharp, repeating it a number of times within an octave shape. They also throw in a couple of the distinctive sounds from the diminished scale, specifically the minor second, the major sixth, and the diminished fifth. Minor second, major sixth, diminished fifth. This first 4-bar phrase ends by walking up the A sharp symmetrical dominant scale, A sharp, B, C sharp, D, and then back down again. This type of move makes the A sharp feel like home. Hear how it resolves. That's how I know that A sharp is the root of this scale. To fully explain this next part of the riff, I have to teach you about a very cool feature of the symmetrical dominant scale. So this scale features the notes to make 3 different tonic chords. All 3 triads, diminished, major, and minor, are possible with this scale. The basic tonic triad is diminished, thus diminished scale. But if you look at these notes again, that's a major third. That's a minor third. Here, we have a diminished fifth and a perfect fifth. So that allows me within the same scale to play A sharp diminished, A sharp major, and A sharp minor. We hear both the major and minor versions of this tonic chord used in the riff. This provides interesting harmonic variety based on the same root A sharp. In this next phrase, the riff leads our ear through a descending line leading us to C sharp. On that C sharp, they build an A sharp minor triad. This chord provides harmonic contrast to the A sharp diminished sounds that we were hearing at the beginning of the riff. So here's the descending line. Once we get down to this note C sharp, they build the A sharp minor triad, A sharp minor over C sharp. Immediately after we hear this A over C sharp chord, they lead our ears through some chromaticism. This takes us back to the first phrase of the riff. This is achieved by using a D sharp leading tone, resolving up into E, on top of which they add an A, which is the leading tone that resolves upwards again into A sharp. So here's that A sharp minor chord, D sharp, up into E, A, resolving to A sharp, get back into the main part of the riff. From here, we get a direct repeat of everything we've heard in the riff so far, up until that A sharp minor triad, where they then go to an E5 add flat 9, this chord right here, followed by an E major arpeggio, which resolves back into the initial A sharp that the riff began on. What I think is really cool about this is in most major or minor keys, you would hear a regular 5 chord resolve into a 1 chord. But in the A sharp symmetrical dominant scale, the chorus sound is A sharp diminished, which features a flat 5. So by building a chord, the E chord, from that flat 5 interval, it gets a 5-1 sound, but diminished, which highlights that overall diminished quality of the A sharp dominant scale, which sounds a lot more metal than a basic 5-1 resolution. At this point, everything about the riff repeats again except for one thing. When we get back to that descending line that would lead our ear to the A sharp minor chord, they change one note. They play a D, and then in context with the next 2 notes, A sharp and E, we get an A sharp major chord. Hear that? We've heard the A sharp minor, Now they add some more harmonic contrast with the A sharp major. Nothing about the riff changes at this point except for the very end, where they take a D sharp and bend it up to E, and back down. This is that same leading tone chromaticism we heard earlier in the riff. D sharp, going up to E, staying on the E for the E5, add flat 9, adding dissonance and tension, resolving flat 5 to 1 on A sharp for when the riff turns back around.